Welcome to the Kpopcast, bringing you the best songs and ideas in K-pop. And this week, we're here to enter the Thunderdome, or the kingdom of the Thunderous ones. And, okay, I'm being corny here, but you all know who I'm talking about. It's Stray Kids, and we're here to talk about their new album and title track.
Right, I'm your PD name, Michaela.
And I'm DJ Peter Lowe, and joining us for this episode, we've got a series of special guests. Making her Kpopcast debut, it's Crystal Bell, freelance journalist, contributor to Paper, Vogue, many publications. Chances are you've probably read her stories if you followed or read anything worth reading in K-pop, and also a major stay. So thank you for your time and joining us, Crystal.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to talk about Stray Kids, aka my favorite subject.
That's right. And joining us as another fellow podcaster and fellow K-pop chat regular, you'll remember her as Simply J, or Jay.
Yeah, well, it's good to be back on a different segment for Kpopcast this time, but thank you for having me. It's super excited to be talking about Stray Kids and super excited to be here and talking with everybody. So yeah, thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming back.
Anytime.
Scare her off, yeah. And last but not least, it's NYC Kpop Queens and another K-pop chat regular. It's Emily. Welcome, Emily.
Hi, everyone. I'm so happy to be back. I'm a huge stay. I can't wait to talk about this comeback and release. Hyunjin's my bias. Let's get into it.
Right, like we said, today we are talking about Stray Kids, Sorikun, aka Thunderous. And we're going to be letting you know if this song is daebak or not.
Dirty.
Yeah, so like we said, we are talking about Sorikun, aka Thunderous. It is the title track of Stray Kids' second studio album. It follows the release of their first studio album, which came out almost a year ago now, which is crazy because that album gave us the timeless bangers of God's Menu, Backdoor. So this, Stray Kids is really at a high point right now in their career. They had that amazing first studio album, and also they are now officially the kings of K-pop, right? This is the first album that follows their win of Kingdom Legendary War from this year, back in June, I believe, right? So talk, guys. You guys are our Stray Kids experts. Like, what's going on with them? This is big time for them, right?
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, they're also breaking their own records. They had an incredible number of stock pre-sales. I think today they officially passed 500,000 albums sold. And It's only the third or fourth tracking day for the week. So they're really, this album has the potential to be their first million seller of their career, the highest selling album in JYP history. Again, the highest selling album in JYP history, which is amazing. And it's kind of insane to think of if you've been a stay for a long time, whether it's pre-debut or even in Miro era, the fact that they are where they are. So thanks to Kingdom, thanks to their incredible growth after Backdoor. It's just a really exciting time for them. And I couldn't really be prouder of all 8 of them, especially Bangchan, Jisung, and Changbin. For producing and writing a huge chunk of this album.
Yeah, like for me, it's I've known about Stray Kids since their debut, but it wasn't until God's Menu that it's just like, oh, I've been missing out for the longest time. And so, like, I remember one of my good friends, shout out to Amber, she was like, no, you're sitting down and you're gonna listen to this album. And then I was just in, and I'm like, okay, I get it. I'm in this life now. And then so hearing them come back, so like, I guess Backdoor was technically my first comeback, but this is like my first actual release that's not following an album like that. So it's just like when they were like announcing it, it's just like, oh no, I'm going to have my world rocked right now. And then Crystal was talking about how the physical albums, I got the notification earlier today that the local K-pop store has them in stock. So I was just like, I need to go and buy it like now.
Priorities,
after. So yeah, it's just they so incredible. Super proud of all of these boys for doing the damn thing. Can I curse? Can I say that?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, sorry. But yeah,
just let it out. Get just true whatever you're feeling right now. Give it to me.
I'm just thank God, came at a time where I was just needing it.
So Crystal said like they broke records. I think it was 930,000 album pre-sales. That's insane. That's huge.
Which is stock order pre-sales. So I think there's some confusion. Stock orders is like how many sales the company believes that they have the ability to sell, not exactly how many pre-sales there were, but just the fact that you have 930,000 stock orders is incredible.
Insane. It's insane. And this is such a vital comeback for them. I have to be honest, as a stay, I was a little bit nervous. So far for me, they haven't missed, but I feel like the pressure's on them. So It's been 11 months. Hyunjin hasn't performed with them since February. There was a lot leading up to this comeback that had me a little nervous and also excited. What are they going to come out with? You should never doubt Stray Kids. 3RACHA has it. They released a ridiculous album. It's been 2 days. So I still feel like I'm consuming it and like letting it hit. But I love it. I'm so proud of them.
Yeah. Oh, and Backdoor just reached 200 million views on YouTube. Yes. So they're continuing to break records even now on older title tracks. So it's just kind of amazing to see their growth and to witness it firsthand. It's so surreal. I keep saying it's so surreal because I remember when Miro was, I think, sold like 50,000 copies in the first week, maybe 52. And I was so happy then. And now it's like they're already at 500,000 2 days later.
I mean,
so cool.
Crystal, I'm just curious to like, just if we can like contextualize that number a bit, like how does that compare against, say, other A-list, B-list K-pop groups, celebrities, like in terms of pre-orders or first week sales?
It's at the higher end. You're trying to get me got. And no, I'm kidding. I will not mention groups because I'm not about that life. But it is definitely at the higher end of things. I mean, if you look at albums from boy groups that have sold, and boy groups tend to be higher sellers when it comes to physical copies and physical sales, whereas girl groups tend to chart higher on digital charts. So that's the real trade-off here. But so far, no easy. If it continues to go the way that is, if the stock order is correct and they reach, 700 to 900,000 potentially the first week, and then maybe even 1 million at some point, it has the potential and it will become the best-selling 4th gen release, which is pretty huge. I think there's always been a conversation about, the race among the 4th gen groups to become the first million seller. And while I think there are so many 4th gen groups that are amazing and deserve all of this praise, and if you look at it, their sales are actually going up. I mean, the boys just had a release. They had their highest sales ever. ATEEZ is gearing up for a release. I'm sure they're going to have their highest sales ever. TXT just had their highest sales ever with the Chaos chapter. So that's just the trend that we're seeing in the industry. But I do think that there's a sense of fandom pride, which is very big on Stan Twitter, about which group will be the first to cross 1 million. So far, we have had, in terms of K-pop in general, we've had NCT Dream have 1 million seller album. We know NCT 127 is on track to definitely have 1 million seller album. We've had BTS, obviously, and 17 with million seller albums. Yeah. So it's kind of just a really great feat. And I think all 4th gen boy groups will cross that line eventually. It's like trending that way. But I do know that fans are very excited to see like which group will be the first to have 1 million selling album from the 4th gen specifically.
Yeah.
And I also want to say, I think this is really interesting to see them doing these numbers because the album's not available in the United States like a lot of the other ones have been.
Oh, wow.
You can't buy it from Amazon. You can't go to Target and get the album right now. So all of the American fans, you're getting it from resellers shipped from Korea. So without that option, they're still doing these numbers. I think that speaks to how popular Stray Kids are.
Yeah. I know Spotify, for example, they tend to give you, because they know the profile of the listener, they can get a lot of demographic details. So I'm especially curious what the gender breakdown is for Stray Kids. Like we look at groups like Big Bang, who are notorious for being a group that the boys, the dudes, love listening to and singing as well. For me, Stray Kids is certainly that group. Like it's a boy group that I think like, goes over well with the guys, just because there's so many like banger clanger, epic drop, intense choreography, and fun goofiness as well. I'll add that. Like,
can I jump on that? Because I've been noticing, just because like surfing through YouTube and everything, and of course when you're watching the music video, you're gonna see reactions at the bottom, and I feel like what I'm seeing, of course it still tailors to the user and everything, but a lot of what I'm seeing is a lot of male reactions coming from this group, and it's just like, so used to see, being in an environment where there's more women as fans, but like when I'm on YouTube, I'm like, oh, there's a large male demographic that I'm seeing, at least when I interact with it. So it's just like, oh, okay. And so I started watching a few, and I'm just like, when they get into it, I'm like, yes, get high, like all of that. It's just like, I'm so excited for them. And it's just like, yes, like it's just not only for women, like it's for all people, and just get into it because they're so good.
Yeah, and I think it also helps in some ways that Stray Kids have never released a love song or like as a title track specifically. Right. Like they have never really had gendered lyrics that way. I mean, their lyrics have always been really inspirational and gender neutral. That for sure helps, I think, open them to a wider demographic. And I would be remiss not to mention one of my favorite releases of the last year, which was Top, their Japanese single, which was the OST for Tower of God, an anime that was created from a webtoon. And I do think that gave them even more of a male fan base, because not to also gender anime, because I love anime, but from reading a lot of the comments, from looking at comments on YouTube and on social media, it looked like a lot of guys like found Stray Kids through that OST, which is just kind of incredible. And then of course, when you dive into their discography and you're like, oh, they create these EDM bangers, as you would say, they have a really strong rap line. They really do have something to offer for everybody.
Mikhail, before I move on, was there anything that you wanted to say on this background section?
The only other thing is, like, this, we talked about this before, but Sriracha or Sriracha, is it Sriracha, right?
Sriracha.
That's how you say it. Sriracha had a huge hand in producing this album. Yeah. That's the unit made of members Bangchan, Changbin, and Han. And they, have really been instrumental in bringing what we know as Stray Kids sound is today, right?
Yeah, I think it's important you mention that, because if you look at the song credits on the album, they're on every single song.
Yeah.
Every single song. As writers, sometimes they're arranging and mixing, producing. Sriracha is Stray Kids. I mean, they're the core of the music, right? And to see the credits, there aren't a lot of K-pop groups that have that opportunity. I'm going to say it that way because you don't know. There could be super talented producers and writers in every group. But JYP was smart. He let them do their thing. Bangchan became the youngest and the fourth generation, right? I could be wrong on this, but I'm pretty sure today he hit 100 or 101 songwriting credits in the Korea Songwriting Society. That's massive. These are young guys, and they're putting out hit after hit after hit after hit. So they deserve all the credit in the world for composing and writing these songs. I think it's so impressive.
Yeah. There's really like nothing to add on top of that other than they are so instrumental to not only the entire Stray Kids discography, but also the sound that they've really established with these last 3 comebacks. This new direction that Three Racha is taking Stray Kids. But it's also important to note that I was actually quite happy to see other outside producers on this album, you know, and some of my favorite tracks are at the hands of some of these collaborations, you know, like I love Hong Ji-sung as a JYP producer. He is Day 6's main producer, and he produced the song Silent Cry. And that's one of my favorite songs. And it's just that beautiful collaboration that comes from Three Racha working with another producer. They work a lot with Versa Choi, who remarkably is their age. Like Versa Choi is also like, I think 21, 22, very, very young. So the fact that it's a lot of these just like young kids are making this music is something to celebrate.
Make me reevaluate my life and be like, what was I doing at their age?
Right?
Right. Oh my gosh. Well, getting into it, do we want to discuss what our favorite tracks are from this album?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
I'll just continue off of my first initial thread and say Silent Cry is one of my favorite songs on the album. I have a lot of favorite songs, but this song is the one that I come back to because I'll never forget the first time I heard it. I was really lucky to get an advance, so I was able to live with this album for a few weeks. And the first time I heard this song, I was so confused. I was so happy, but I was so confused. I mean, I think this song really takes you on such a like winding kind of melodic journey. And at some point it even changes tempos, and that's really fun. I mean, it kind of gives you a little bit of everything. What I like about this song too is that it builds and builds and builds, and you never get that release. And I really kind of love that they never give you that release. The theme of the song as well, I think, is a very beautiful message, and a lot of what their tracks are about in terms of consoling fans. And this song, I'm so grateful that they're working with Hong Ji-san, and I just think that it is such a beautiful, weird little song. And it is, to me, the closest track on the album. And these are very different songs, so I don't want to say I'm not comparing them. But when I'm saying it gave me the same feeling as when I listened to The Tortoise and the Hare for the first time, which is like my favorite song off of In Life, because it is so like, oh my God, what are these kids doing? That Silent Cry gave me that same feeling.
Yeah. It's funny that you say that it's a kind of weird song, right?
Yeah.
That's why my favorite is Cheese, because if you look at it by face value, it's just like, this is just a song about cheese? Really? No, but it's more than that. There is, right, Emily? It was your favorite too.
Yes. I'm like Crystal. I think I'm like all of you. When I tried to narrow it down, I had 7. And I will say this is a no-skip album, but I love Cheese. To have that be the opener on the album, it is so aggressive, so in your face. They literally spell out how to give someone the finger. That's part of it. It's just so aggressive and responding to the criticism. And I mean, the whole album, it's noisy. They're unapologetic about who they are, and the sound of it, it's just ridiculous. You have Felix saying cheddar, parmesan. It's crazy, and it's bizarre, and it's fun in the best way.
So I'll be the dumb person in the room, so I'll ask all the dumb questions. But Emily, when you say like responding to the criticism, for people who don't know, who are definitely not myself, but I'm just asking on their behalf because I definitely know the answer to this question. But what is some of that criticism that they're responding to with this track?
Yeah, so with God's Menu, they really took off, and a lot of people started calling it noise music. This isn't music, this is noise. They just do noise. Your favorites do noise. Click, clang, pots and pans. That's been brought up so much. they know the criticism and they embrace it. And I know we'll get to this at some point, but in the single, there's pots and pans. They're using sounds that people have criticized them for. And they really started a new genre. They're kind of the innovators of this next genre in K-pop, noise music. And a lot of other groups have taken it and run with it.
Yeah, and I think the Korean word that I keep hearing related to that idea of what the new genre is Maramat. So it's like spicy flavor.
But
it's
that's
that
spicy.
That hit that you get whenever you listen to a song that Stray Kids makes.
The mala genre. Well, and I think like to Emily's point, they are addressing it head on. And the very first line of this album, right, of Cheese is, is that funny to you? What's so funny about a headache? Like those two lines are referencing two of their songs. Obviously the first being God's Menu, the second being maybe their most polarizing song to date, which is Side Effects. And Side Effects, I would argue, was kind of the initial song that got them a lot of criticism for making very loud music, even though that they were kind of experimenting with a whole different genre with psychedelic trance elements. But a lot of K-pop fans were like, what is this? It's too loud. It's too noisy. It gives me a headache, like, to listen to it, even though the lyrics themselves are like, our head hurts. That's the point. Yeah. So I do love that Stray Kids are in this self-referential era. And this is, you saw it, it's the continuation of that confidence they found with God's Menu and that bravado that they established with Go Live and In Life. This is the continuation of that. And like Emily said, I am just very happy to see them never shy away from things and to address things head on. The first half of this album, I think so clearly is just kind of a big like kiss off. Like I would say the first like 4 songs are just like one after the next, just a kiss off. And then we get into more maybe melodic, more sentimental songs, which I was also really appreciative of. But the first 4 tracks on this album are just straight fire.
Yeah. And then also just jumping off of that, it's just like even the title of the album, it plays on words of noisy, and it's just like, it's kind of like a big FU. Like, we're still gonna do what we're gonna do, and you take it as is, and just, I'm just like, these kids are genius. What the hell? So unfair.
I just want to call out, so listener Dina had the same thought or similar thought as you, Jay.
Yeah, our girl Dina in Slack.
Dina wrote, I'm enjoying the album. I noticed on the album cover the letters were designed in a way to spell out noisy, which actually sounds similar to how you pronounce no easy, mushed together. I'm assuming this is intentional, but I think Stray Kids love wordplay. It matches the sound of many songs on the album. They are noisy, but in an organized chaos kind of way where you can let loose in a club. Dina also writes that she's enjoying some of the slower songs too, like The View and Sorry I Love You.
Yeah, Dina and I have that in common. Sorry I Love You is that example of, the slower, I mean, not any less intense. It's still talking about kind of the negative sides of love. Yeah. But it's still very much the more, you hear the vocals is what I'm saying. You get all the vocals in this song.
Yeah. Producer Chongmin!
Yes.
Producer Chongmin.
Like the vulnerability, they go from 4 aggressive in-your-face songs to really introspective, detailed vulnerability, and they do that so well and seamlessly. It all fits together. It's not jarring, Although I will say, when Red Lights started, I was a little bit like, what? Red Lights is my other favorite song. That's a subunit song that Bangchan and Hyunjin wrote. We saw them writing this. They had a reality show. I think it was called Howl and Harmony Song Camp. And there were subunits.
Yeah.
And you saw them like coming up with the ideas. This is the first time they've delved into a sexy concept. Oh my God, you guys.
The video alone was just like, oh.
Yeah. Well, we don't even have a real video yet.
We don't have the video yet.
It's going to drop on us one day.
Yeah, it's just a teaser, and it's just like, when did this happen?
I think it is interesting, like, they don't really, like I said before, they don't really do love songs. And we have 2 on this album, like I would say 2 official love songs, when Sorry I Love You, which actually references like going on dates and having feelings. And then the other being Red Lights, which is this really seductive, very powerful. I mean, I'm sure, like Emily, you know, having watched Song Camp, Hyunjin literally references 50 Shades of Grey as an inspiration point.
Yes.
He is a big fan of that soundtrack. He loves that soundtrack. He loves that sound of and that style of music. And I think it is just such a what I love about the unit songs in general is that it's a great way for Stray Kids to explore other genres that they might not get to explore as a group yet. And I do think Bangchan and Hyunjin doing this kind of sexy concept, having this really seductive song with this really like strong guitar line. It's just, I just love it so much. But I think it's like a great look at like, okay, this maybe one day in the future could be a possible venture for Stray Kids. I mean, Stray Kids as a unit, as a group, haven't done a sexy concept yet. But, you know, I think that this song, Red Lights, is kind of giving you a taste of like, well, is it possible? Like, could they do this? And I know lots of fans would probably really like to see that the group explore that. But I think like having Bangchan and Hyunjin, who we know love R&B music, they love these kinds of slinky, kind of seductive beats, these kinds of songs. I think it's a perfect song for these two. And Hyunjin coming back from a hiatus. Personally, I just couldn't be more excited to see him working directly with Bangchan, seeing him step up, write, and produce. I mean, you know, Bangchan really let Hyunjin take the reins on the songwriting here, and I just love seeing like what the other members are capable of, who are not Three Racha, because we know Three Racha and what they can do, but having all of the members participate in songwriting and even production, I think is just a huge step for them creatively, and it's nice to see it out of the mixtape context.
If I could just push on this point you raised earlier, Emily, like there are moments of vulnerability for them on this album. Where are you seeing that played out or expressed in particular?
Give me a second. Let me get my notes up here. Because there's a lot. I think Silent Cry, obviously, the lyrics are really tough in that song. But I think they're relatable. You know, it's about...
The title alone is...
Exactly. And it's about crying alone and someone seeing that and saying, you don't have to do this by yourself. Yeah. I see you trying to be tough. I see you putting on the show and you don't have to. That's exhausting. Secret goes right into the same thing. And it's really vulnerable and sad. It kind of carries on with that. Pretending to be okay makes me feel even lonelier. And I think it's interesting that Hyunjin said that's his favorite song on the album, because we know he had a tough time earlier this year. They don't have a problem with putting themselves out there like that. Han does it all the time on his... What are those called, Crystal? Like,
Skids Records?
Yes.
Skids Records?
Yes.
It's either records or records.
I wasn't sure how to say it. They release these like one-offs on YouTube. Yeah. And Han's written so many songs that bring me to tears about not fitting in, feeling alone in a room full of people. Everyone's looking at you. You're an alien. They hit really specific things that I think are relatable to a large group of people. Yeah. So it's like, if I'm ready to get in a fight, I can listen to these first 4 songs. Yeah. If I'm really depressed and having like shower cries, Secret, I've got you. Like, I feel like it's all, there's so much there that taps into real human emotion, not surface stuff.
Yeah.
And
I was gonna say, I think like also those songs that you mentioned, Silent Cry, Secret Secret, Star Loss, all the songs that start with S's.
Star Loss.
Sorry, I Love You, also an S song. Basically all the songs that start with S's, except for Surfing. That's not a sad song, that's a hype song.
The complete opposite
so
summer
cute.
bop.
But I think like Sorry, I Love You, Silent Cry, Secret Secret, Star Loss, which all come in a line. So they really just hit you emotionally straight, one after the other. I think that it's also... It proves to me that Stray Kids haven't lost what made them special. And I'm not saying that they're not special now. I'm saying what I think endeared them to so many people, especially young people. I mean, there are a lot of stays who are quite young. And I think what endeared them to that is the fact that their early sound, their early music, and I'm talking Elevator, District 9, My Pace, these songs were all about the pain of adolescence, like the coming of age experience. They were so internal, right? Like it was almost like Secret Secret all the time was like these songs that really was about the pursuit of adulthood and how confusing and how challenging that could be, which is something that I think everybody can relate to. You know, they had songs that really addressed, the societal pressures that young people face in District 9, mental health struggles like Voices, the side effects of growing up and how agitated and sick and just, angry you are. And, they were angry, they were angsty. And I'm not saying that they lost that. That is still apparent. I mean, you're always growing up. You're always coming of age. And I think Stray Kids, what I like about their music is that it makes me feel like growing up and coming of age is a real process. And you get to see them work through those emotions through their music. But what I like so much about this era and what I think No Easy and also Thunderous as a title track does so well is that it is obviously very confident, but what it proved to me is that they're no longer asking questions. Like their early discography, I am like, their early discography, like I am who, like I am you, I am not, like I did that backwards. Their early discography, like I am not, I am who, I am you, was all about questioning, right? Like, who am I? Who am I supposed to be? Who are people telling me to be? Who am I though, for real? So they're no longer asking questions. They know who they are. And that's like the beauty of this era of Stray Kids. They know who they are. And I think that growth is so profound. And I think it's equally as important for people, especially young people, to hear that and to say like, oh, I will find myself. Like this will all become clearer. I will find this confidence in me. So I don't know. I just feel like there's often this question of like their growth as artists and their the difference between their earlier work versus now. And I think that growth is just really beautiful.
Well, I'll move us along, but I'll just acknowledge that I know Jay and I we both. We're in the Banger Clanger camp, so we both really liked one of the earlier tracks, Domino. I would, in my humble opinion, Domino could have been the title track.
Okay, but same. I had the same idea. I was texting Emily. I was just like, I was like, oh my god, like if they released Domino as the title track, I wouldn't even be mad. Like it's so good too, and it's one of those songs like. I think, I forgot, it was like one of the songs where as soon as you listen to it, you're like, what is going on? And I just like, I can't move on to the rest of the track. Now, I haven't had the chance to like really deeply go into the album, look at the meanings of the lyrics and everything like that, but just surface level, I'm on this song repeatedly and it's just like... What the hell? Like, it's so good. And then, I already knew, like, this is gonna be an instant favorite when they released the teaser video for it. And I'm like, they were smart to do this. Yeah. They were smart to do this. And I'm like, I already knew. As soon as Domino came up, I'm like instantly.
so good. I love that drum and bass breakdown.
Yes.
I wish that Sriracha would give us another drum and bass song, because the only other one in their discography is 0325, which is another one of my favorite songs. But I would love more drum and bass. It is such a powerful song. Also, just like So Changmin is in his era. Like, he's in his bag on this album. He's in his bag.
Really
When he starts any song, you know it's going to be fire. Domino reminded me of God's Menu. Like, the song structure itself felt very similar, and it's so aggressive. It's just, they're playing with the competition in that song. Yeah. It's sick. I love it.
As a Felix fan in the group,
rapper Felix,
his little part at the end. If you're like if you're fond of God's Menu and Felix's part, in Domino, he does it towards the end where he says one by one. I'm just like, you had to just do this at the end and just knock me out completely. This is what you're gonna do to me? How rude, but yes, I welcome it.
That was one of my favorite parts in the teaser, because they released videos for like 5 tracks on the album, and that visual from that was probably my favorite of him doing that line.
Yeah.
That's like so interesting that you said that, Emily, because I feel like the title track, Thunderous, has been getting so many comparisons to God's Menu specifically. So this is maybe a great opportunity to talk about Thunderous as a title track. Again, it's just that another entry in the Mala genre. It is such a confident song for Stray Kids. Again, just a continuation of the sound and bravado that they really established in the God's Menu era, which I think is, again, why it's getting so many comparisons to God's Menu, because it also has that killing point of like the spitting, and in God's Menu had the chopping, and you had those real like sonic booms. But I think, like, I know from reading what Bangchan has said, what some of the members have said, you know, the message is also, while it is a very confident statement, I would say this song is definitely a statement. It also is deeply entwined with, you know, Korean mythology, right? Which I think is another really cool element of the song and the performance. Bangchan has said that, you know, in this song, Stray Kids are dokkobi, which are Korean mythological figures. They are seen as tricksters, really playful tricksters, which I think is a great metaphor and use of imagery for Stray Kids, who are often labeled as really playful and really mischievous. Kind of like a great parallel there. And they are facing off against quote unquote naggers, right? Naggers. Bangchan has repeatedly used the word naggers. He will never be very explicit, but he will give you the hints. He'll give you the breadcrumbs to follow along his train of thought. He will never explicitly say. But, you know, these naggers are doubting them, right? They're doubting their abilities. And so this song is really establishing them as these powerful, otherworldly beings. And it's a way for them to really like confidently let loose. Like, this is another banger. It's a party track. It is like, let's celebrate. We know we're the shit. Like, that's kind of the song. And I think that's why it's getting that God's Menu comparison, because similarly, it has a lot of the same elements, right? It has a lot of the sonic elements, like the synth drop. I really love the brassy synths on this song and the use of traditional Korean instruments. I think that's what makes it really distinct. But yeah, I mean, they are following a formula. But the formula works. And I would say that there are lots of groups who follow formulas. Like, once they find their sound, that's what a group does.
Exactly. If it's not broken, why fix it? Kind of situation.
I mean, going off of that, conceptually, it's kind of like a blend of like old and new, real and animated.
I wish there was more animation. I'm actually a little upset that there wasn't more animation. I thought the animation was so cool.
So cool. Such a neat way to start that music video.
And then even just the beginning of introducing Changbin, right? Where it flashes like he's animated, and then it introduces like the real life Changbin, and I'm just like, what is going on?
Yeah, it really adds to the fantasy element. Like you said, they're kind of doing this mythical creature, dokebi kind of goblin concept. And, you know, that first shot, it kind of like pulls back and it goes into the sky and the clouds. And you see the thunder and you see who's in the sky. It's Stray Kids coming to town to, I don't know. I guess, I don't necessarily know about what all the visuals in this means, but it does feel like they're kind of just like coming in on the scene and just like wreaking havoc or doing what they want to do. Yeah, listeners of our show should know what dokebi is by now because we absolutely loved Ace's Favorite Boys.
Yes.
And they do a lot of a similar thing where they're taking these traditional Korean styles and fashion and combining them with more like street modern style in the sound and also in the visuals of the concept. And you also you get that in this music video too, because like while Stray Kids are walking around and they're like basically Today Street, well, they're in the middle of Joseon, Korea. If you've seen any historical drama, you know these sets.
Yes, exactly.
And I also think, like, you know, Stray Kids, as we know, they love wordplay. We talked about this. But Sorokun as a word itself, like they're using Sorokun in the hook, right? As like thunderous, and it means thunderous. But it also means singer.
Right.
And it's a word used to talk
translation.
A literal translation is singer. And so the idea that they are talking about themselves as these really powerful singers, these powerful performers, is such a play on words. And I think it goes so well with the concept. I don't know where the sound monster went from the concept trailer, but
I was waiting for like the big ear to come out. I was like, I'm happy
to have a mythology concept because I know Bangchan really loves mythology. So, you know, as long as he's happy, I'm happy.
I think it's really easy to have one of these elements, like you name it, like either the traditional aesthetic or the animations or the way they use cuts between dancers and people in the background as an animation. Any one of those things could be like a non sequitur, you know, to the story or the concept. But I think you see it all and it's like it makes sense together as a cohesive concept and vibe.
And I think that's even part of their newfound confidence too of in God's Menu and even the lyrics in Thunderous. It's really, I think there's a lyric that talks about like try any flavor you want, you know, or like try it all, like try all the dishes, have all the dishes. Like with Stray Kids, it's excess is good, you know, more is more. That I think, and you can even hear it in like the song itself uses a ton of samples, like a ton. And what I love too is like Stray Kids are not subtle. You know, like I love that they like the fact that they do like boom, 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 bang in the song as like you know, this way to represent thunder, and it's part of their song. The way that the choreography is that laughing is part of the choreography. Like I love
that was genius.
They're not a subtle group, and so like all like Emily was saying before, it's like they have so many samples that are like pots and pans, horns, like, you know, sounding up, like all of these little things that make their music quote unquote noisy. They use them in the song as samples, which I think is really, really smart and clever.
Like going off of that, like when you see the cars, you know, you hear the honks and it's there. And then every time there's a match cut, especially when they're in front of the palace, the thunder coming in each and every shot, it's just like they knew this is what's gonna happen, and it's just like they planned out so much for this, but like it works. It just works, and it's just Stray Kids. Like this is them. That's how you know this is Stray Kids.
Yeah, they've really found their sound, and it's like a wonderful thing to witness a group find their sound and find what makes them unique. And I think for every group, it takes a little bit to get there. I can't think of like a single group that debuted with like their signature sound. But with Stray Kids, I think coming off of God's Menu, I'll even go earlier. I really think the Miro side effects run was genius.
Oh, totally. Right.
And like, so coming off from Miro and then to God's Menu, to Backdoor to Thunderous, like to me, this is the same group. And I like seeing them get more confident in their production, more interesting in their production too. Like I like that there's lots of layers on this song. And I think that's a testament. Layers. Yeah, it's a testament to like how far Sriracha have come as producers.
It's crazy. Like the layering of all these sounds. This is a masterful job from a production standpoint. They don't get enough credit. Like for noise music, what they do and what they blend together, it's insane. It's so freaking good.
I think it's also like if you really like listen and listen and listen, you're like, oh, there's a new thing each and every time I listen that you're discovering. Like it took me like 2 or 3 times to really hear the traditional instruments happening and then hearing all the honking and the thunder and then just feeling it as it goes. And I think like that's what I like about Stray Kids. It's like that layering that Emily and Crystal are talking about. They put it in their songs and it's just like you have to repeat it. You have to. It's just not like a one and done kind of thing. They're so smart about it and it's just like Sriracha and Stray Kids in general. It's just like, you make me so mad because you're so good at what you do.
Good. I think like it was a totally different listening experience for me listening with headphones. Like I listened to it the first time without headphones. I just listened to it on my computer. But then when I put my headphones in, it was like seeing in HD, you know, I was like, wow, this is 8K. Like it very much is, you hear every little element and you're able to parse through all of the samples. I recommend if anybody hasn't listened with headphones or like a really good speaker, listen to it on like the best quality speaker you can find because there's so much in that track.
To add on to that, how I listened the first time to the album, I plugged it into my car. So while I'm driving, so it's just dangerous. All around.
Yeah, I was going to say. Yeah.
But, you know, not super loud, but it's just like when I was going through it and I was just like, oh, hearing this in a surround sound system like this, it's just like, it's one of the most ultimate experiences aside from having headphones to really dive in. It's just like,
I think when you're listening to the song like as an intellectual, right? Like, you know, you're listening deliberately.
Analyst.
You can certainly start to piece out all the sampling that you guys are talking about, all the novel sounds that you wouldn't traditionally associate with being a musical instrument that they're throwing in and using musically. But when I think the core elements, the bones, the structure of its song would succeed very well as a live festival, big stadium style event sort of drop. That's really what I'm hearing. And it certainly builds off of their legacy, as Crystal and others have been discussing, like from God's Menu, Backdoor, Side Effects, etc. These are all peak hour drops and bangers.
Well, I think that's, you know, Sriracha have said that when they're in the studio and they're looking for inspiration, they look at videos on YouTube of Tomorrowland sets, you know, like I think they are very inspired by bangers. And it makes a lot of sense to me that when they're looking for title tracks and when they think of Stray Kids and when they think of the mala genre, the spicy genre that they've created, that bangers and kind of festival music would really suit them and would really be the kind of music that they want to put out as Stray Kids. And I think that between Backdoor and this song Thunderous, like the festival vibes are at an all-time high. Like the last bit of this song with all of the Korean instrumentation, just how the choreography just gets so celebratory, similar to God's Menu or similar to Backdoor. I just really, really love that this is like a real party vibe and it's a real just be confident, have fun, be who you are, say what you want to say. I mean, even like the killing point, I think like the spitting motion, of like do like this, is them expressing like spit out everything you want to say. Like say what you want, say it confidently, say it without hesitation. And I love that. I think that's just a great vibe for late summer, great vibe, festival vibe. I need live music to come back. I need a Stray Kids concert. I need a Stray Kids festival. I think that they could do a festival at this point. Like, let's do a Stray Kids festival.
For sure. I'm so there. And the lyrics in this song say a lot of that. I mean, it's all, the concept is so strong. The song, the music video, but the whole I'm not sorry, I'm dirty. The whole thing is a response to other people. It's really, again, kind of aggressive and in your face. There's one part where they say, your attempt to look cool is just cute. You don't even come close to me. If I don't like something, I'm going to talk back till I'm satisfied. Keep talking. We don't play by the rules. The whole thing is really aggressive. They're not trying to be like the nice guys. They are who they are.
Cookie
Let's
cutter.
go. No. No.
Well, and I do think it's, the idea that the song even ends with Felix saying, keep talking, we don't play by the rules. Like, you can keep talking, like, talk your shit, but we're not playing by anybody else's rules but our own. And I think that's like a powerful way to end the song. And even them just ending like this, right? Like,
just like
silence.
Yep.
Shut up.
So it's so smart. I love it.
I never understood the noise music criticism. Like, to be frank, like, when I hear kids nowadays, get off my lawn, kids, use the terminology noise music, I think it just means like,
noisy.
were they trying to say something like more like Dada art, like, atonal music? And it's like, no, they just mean loud bangers. Yeah,
they mean loud. And also, like, I hate the term noise music because K-pop fans aren't using it correctly. Like, noise music is a genre, and if any fans actually looked up noise music and listened to noise music, they would know that it's nothing like anything that any of these groups are releasing. Like, that is not noise music. What they mean is, like, noisy music. Like, it's loud. And there's nothing wrong with being loud. There's nothing wrong with experimenting on the production. I think I've seen a lot of groups kind of embrace it now. I know, NCT often gets the noise music label too. They've started to embrace it. P1 Harmony, I really like P1 Harmony when they were promoting their most recent title track, Scared. Kiho, the leader, actually said it's pots and pans music. I think that there's this like movement from these 4th gen groups to almost reclaim that noisy identity of like, okay, you call our songs noise music? Fine. Like, yeah, it's noise music. We love it. We're going to talk about how noisy it is.
Yeah. And it's just like, you're going to listen to it anyway, like jumping off another group. ITZY does it too. And it's just like, I'm going to own it. I'm going to do this, whatever. You're going to still get addicted anyway.
Yeah. I honestly think the noise music criticism is usually coming from a lot of like 2nd gen stans, 3rd gen stans. And as I am a 2nd gen, 1st gen stan. So it's like, I will throw myself in here as well. But like, I think it comes from a lot of people who are not used to or don't like the progression of K-pop. It's not their vibe. They're like, this is not the sound that I like. But I think that's okay. Like, every generation has the sound that is for them and is cool for them. And it's okay to admit sometimes that music just isn't made for you.
I would, if I could be a little controversial, certainly.
Ooh, yes,
Gen 2 is like a strong soft spot in my heart. It's what brought me into this genre, what I grew up with, I'll say loosely. But I think just the production techniques and methods that were being done by mostly in-house, or translated, maybe using other producers and then translated to be, in-house production, just didn't have the technique or methods to produce some of these more banger concepts that we started hearing. I would say maybe around like 2014 and onwards.
Well, I mean, I'm a Shawl, right? Like, when SHINee released Everybody, people hated it.
Yeah.
Like, they really... everybody was such a controversial title track for them. And you look at it now and like, everybody's the blueprint. Like everybody is like the blueprint for what happened to K-pop for the next 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is very interesting though. Like I do think that there is a fair criticism to be made about maybe some of the songs from, you know, the idea that there's too much of one thing, right? Like, you know, like a lot of the songs sounding the same, a lot of the groups producing just these bangers that kind of all can sonically kind of all mesh together. They follow a similar format. I think that's a fair criticism, but I also think that in this generation of K-pop, there's more groups than there have ever been before. So, and I often think that we don't talk about that enough, of just like the sheer volume of groups. Like it makes sense that you're hearing the similar songs and like similar beats and similar song construction, because there's just more music than there's ever been before in K-pop. You know, before it was just so different. Like the landscape was different.
Yeah.
You know, things felt fresh, maybe. They seemed fresh. They seemed new because there were fewer groups, fewer releases. And now we're just in this period of extreme excess. So I can concede to some of that criticism of like, okay, things are sounding a little bit the same. However, it doesn't bother me. Like, I guess for me, I'm kind of like, yeah, like Stray Kids Thunderous does kind of copy their formula from God's Menu. Am I mad about it? No. Like, is it still a banger? Yeah. Am I going to listen to it? Yeah. Do I have full faith that they're going to do something different, break out of that kind of, or step out, as pun intended, step out of that kind of era and maybe try something new? I'm sure that they will. You know, I have a lot of faith in Three Racha. They know how to elevate the mala genre. They know how to push Stray Kids forward. But like, if they want to release God's Menu Part 2, that's fine with me. Like, it's when they do when it's God's Menu Part 5, then we'll have a talk.
Exactly.
You know, like then there's room for concern. But if they just want to give me some bangers, I'm not mad about it.
I think they're different enough from each
too.
other. So I'll use another example. I'll put out all the stuff that can. I'll say all the comments that get me canceled, so I can take the heat. Like people who are looking for a fight, don't pick on our guest. You can pick on me. But Momoland, for example, their song, what was it? Their why am I forgetting? Boom Boom, right?
Boom.
And then Bam. Like, oh my God, that is beat by beat identical song.
Yeah.
It's not nearly that atrocious with the bangers that we're getting from Stray Kids. No. And when I look at everything, Three Racha, I look forward because they've built up that identity for themselves in that production style. I am especially tuned into it because that is the sound I currently desire more. In K-pop.
I mean, and I think they're adding to it. I know that there's been a lot of talk about like, are they adding to the genre or are they just like copying the genre that they created? I think they're adding to it. I mean, I think we've talked about it, but Thunderous is a really textured song. There's a lot of fun samples. In my opinion, there's more instrumentation. There's different sounds in that song. The brassy hook for me and like that brassy synth is really working for me. Like, and I love that it's even brought to life and energized by all the Korean instrumentation. I think Three Racha have said that they started with that drop. They actually started with the hook of the song. They started with that kind of that brassy synthy sound. And then they built the entire song around that. So I think that they're adding to it. I think that they're not completely identical. I do think that they're in the same family, but that's fine.
Yeah. They're like, so I do a lot of DJing of K-pop for K-pop events and whatnot. And there are certainly songs that you play because the choreography amongst K-pop fans are, notable. Like everyone knows this simple point dance, whatever it may be. So you got to play that song. But then I'll have gigs and events where maybe you've got some K-pop fans there, and then you also have like strange Westerners who just kind of like walked into the bar and they didn't know what they were signing up for. And
The locals, as the kids say.
Locals, yeah.
Yeah, but like, you know, if I'm DJing at a club, I want club music.
Yeah.
And I so love Stray Kids' title track discography just because like I've got that repertoire.
Yeah.
And it's different enough that I could do all these songs back to back and it wouldn't feel like I'm playing the same song.
Yeah.
I think maybe fair. I've heard critiques saying that, well, if you're to play all that together, it kind of sort of becomes desensitizing. Like you kind of lose the sense of like where the peaks are, because if everything's always at a peak, then you don't have those troughs to like contrast it. But I don't always play it all, you know, all together in one go, but I need those ingredients. And
Yeah. See, that's why I like the song Silent Cry, because you think it's building to a peak and it really never takes you there. They're like, we're going to go somewhere else now. Like I love songs that can do that and kind of mess with your brain sonically like that. But I mean, I agree with you. I think that they have a really diverse discography.
Yeah, I feel like they're complete discography. Absolutely.
Yes. And I never want to be the person, like, I know that title tracks should really stand on their own. And I don't want to be the person that's like, well, you should listen to these 25 songs. There's 25 B-sides you've never heard to get the full spectrum of their musicality. But I will say, I even think that their title tracks are diverse enough. Yeah. And if anything, like, I will say as a title track, Thunderous, for me, maybe lacked some of the impact that God's Menu had. But that's because God's Menu was coming off of Levanter. Like, Levanter was their last.
Yeah.
And Levanter was such a different kind of song, different kind of vibe. And then you had God's Menu, and that was like a punch to the face. You know, like that was such a restart for them. And now from God's Menu to Backdoor and with Thunderous, I will say that Thunderous lacks that impact because you are kind of used to the Stray Kids sound now. You know the vibe that they're going for. So I do hope that they do change it up eventually. And I know that they will. It makes me really curious to see where Stray Kids are going to go in the future. Like Thunderous, I thought was such a great, to me, it represents opportunity. You know, when I think of that song, I think of the word opportunity because it is an opportunity for them to go even further. And like, what will they do next? Will they continue this really hyper braggadocious vibe that they're on? Or are they going to pull a reverse Uno and like give us angsty Stray Kids? Or are they going to give us maybe love songs like as title tracks? Like they have so much opportunity at their fingertips. And I think that's because they are the archetypes. Oh my gosh. They have so much opportunity at their fingertips. And I think that's because they are the architects of their sound. And it just makes me so excited to see where they go next.
Mm-hmm. Do you guys think that we're going to see more of the, I've called it the unapologetically Korean in the past, but like, One Us lit, Ace's favorite boys, BTS's,
or Vic,
yeah. So like we've seen a lot of these. Like I'm just wondering, like, I don't think it's gotten to the point where it's a cliche or it all starts to sound the same. Certainly there's a lot of room for creativity within that. But do you think we're going to see more of that?
I hope
Stray
so.
Kids and.
I hope so. I don't think it could ever really be a cliche because it is Korean culture, you know, and I do think that I love seeing how different groups present their culture and how they choose to orchestrate Korean culture. And, you know, I wouldn't say that Favorite Boys sounds anything like Thunderous or Lit sounds anything like Idol from BTS. You know, I think they are all very distinct sounding songs. And to me, as a international fan of Korean music, that's exciting because I'm like, I learn new things too, you know. And even the Dokkaebi concept that Ace used in Favorite Boys, I think they used it very differently than how Stray Kids chose to kind of represent Dokkaebi. And there are some similarities, right? Just because that's the actual mythology of it, like the hats, like Felix's wide-brimmed hat. But in terms of costuming, in terms of presentation, in terms of choreography, in terms of animation, it's very different. And I love that. I love seeing how every group interprets and chooses to, represent their culture.
Yeah. I mean, I certainly live for it. I don't want to be like exotifying it either.
Yeah.
As like a Westerner just kind of consuming this and being like, oh, well, it's got this thing. I love it for the token reasons. I hope I don't fall into that trap, but
no.
Yeah.
I know what you're saying, though. I mean, it is kind of like, do you think that there will be more groups that kind of do that? And I hope that there are. Like, I always get really excited to see hanboks on idols, and to see these more traditional stages, more traditional instrumentation. I think it's wonderful, and I think Korean fans especially really like it. I think they like seeing their culture represented in such a way, and that when idols get to go on tour and perform and do live stages again, and then seeing it even brought to life on stage, I think will be really powerful.
Yep. Okay. Well, shall we bring it in and talk about? Sorry, I'm like so reluctant to do this cliche, Michaela.
It's perfect.
You gotta do it. We gotta do it. You gotta be corny for Stray Kids. Bangchan would love it.
Right. Yeah.
So, taking into account everything that we discussed, we talked about
wrapping it up here.
The message, the lyrics. We talked about the concept, the aesthetics, the styles. We talked about the dancing, the choreography, and not to mention the banger clinger Sriracha musical styles of Thunderous by Stray Kids. Taking all of that into account, is this song For the record, that might be the last time we ever do that on this show.
Peter,
I've been trying to kill it.
This is tradition.
We finished it. It was so bad you cannot do it anymore.
I'm happy to be the last one to do it.
Yes.
I feel like that's an honor. That's an honor, really.
See, now we have to end it because Crystal said that she's happy to be the last one as an honor, Michaela. So I think we have to end it with this episode.
We'll see.
She's gonna drag you to do it one more time.
Okay.
But Crystal, you can go first in this. What is your score? I think we can maybe guess, but hold on. Let's see.
Really? Can you? It's Daebak. I don't know if we're talking about the album, the single. They're both Daebak to me.
Everything.
Everything. I think I need even more time with this album to really kind of place it in my pantheon of Stray Kids releases, because I have about 3 albums right now that are at the top tier for me. But I definitely think that this song and this album offer everything you love about Stray Kids and even more. I think that they're branching out, they're trying new things. Look to the unit songs if you really want to see what Stray Kids are capable of outside of their typical mala genre. But yeah, I think it's Daebak. I think it's a great step forward for them. Maybe not a giant leap, but that's okay. It's a step in the right direction. Yeah. And it makes me even more excited to see what they have coming next.
Got it. Okay, Jay, what is your score?
So, I mean, it's going to be pretty obvious. It's also, if we're talking single album, it's also a Daebak for me. I mean, Crystal put it into such great words. But I also think, like, with people getting into God's Menu and then Backdoor, and then, there's no more opportunity for people to realize who is Stray Kids? And it's another great introductory track for new fans to get into them. And it's like, I'm so excited to see what's gonna happen. I'm so impressed. And this is coming off of somebody who's only been into them really fully a year in, for myself. So it's just like, Stray Kids, job well done. I'm excited. Super big Daebak for me, and yeah.
Okay, Emily, your score.
It's not. No, I'm just kidding. I've been thinking this whole time, and I actually, no, this is Daebak for sure. I'm with my panelists here. This song, the album, I'm so proud of Stray Kids. Stray Kids deserve so much credit. They're innovators. What they're doing for K-pop is amazing. And like we all mentioned, Crystal mentioned, can't wait to see what they do next. But I think it's okay if we don't get a new release immediately because there's so much to digest here. They gave us a lot on this album.
They did.
So it's really impressive. My expectations were so high going in, and they did not let me down. Congratulations, Stray Kids.
Yeah. And we have a Japanese release to look forward to soon.
Oh my God, I forgot about that.
I know. Never stop.
Yeah, and I'm assuming this is going to get a repackage as well.
We can assume. I legitimately don't have any information, so no one look at me, but we can assume. We can assume.
Got it. Okay, Peter, what is your score?
Yeah, it's Daebak. I had expectations for this song. Thought it would be a banger clanger. And those expectations were met.
Yeah.
And
They did it.
Mikhail, last but not least.
Okay, I gotta preface this with mine is a not.
You've been so quiet this whole time.
We need to hear these criticisms. Go into it, Michaela.
Okay. Again, my defense again as somebody who is not new to Stray Kids, but is familiar with their discography, especially with God's Menu, especially with Backdoor, everything that's come out recently, and the songs that they put out for Kingdom.
Yeah.
For me, you all talked about how Domino was like the obvious choice for title track.
Yep.
For me, that's Cheese. Because for me, like a truly Daebak Stray Kids comeback is that noisy music, but it has that fun. It's that quirkiness. It's that kids aspect of it. That
I hear
that
you.
fun.
Yeah.
That for me is what Stray Kids sound is the best. So
Yeah.
I'm not saying
I hear you.
this is not a great.
That's fair.
So it's just when you put it into context of especially the album and every other song, it's just not the most Daebak for me.
That's fair. Because I get what you're saying. Like, Cheese is a little bit more playful.
Yes.
It's not so.
Yes.
It's not so assertively braggadocious, and it's not all about bravado. It's almost like very playful, very fun, very almost whimsical, which I think is like a cool aspect of Stray Kids. So I completely understand that criticism. And
and more background, like one of my favorite Stray Kids songs is the one where they go like red light, green light, swag.
Oh my god!
Yes.
Oh my god!
That
my god!
Astronaut too. So
wow!
Astronaut does not get enough love. Yeah, no, but Astronaut doesn't get any love. I'm with you.
I can't have this conversation because it's gonna get me canceled. So I can't talk about Astronaut. I can't talk about NS. I can't talk about Wolfgang and finally hearing the OT8 version on this album.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Which is the only version that I'm going to listen to, the only version that I have enjoyed. That was so awesome to finally hear Hyunjin on that track specifically. Yeah. It was just...
Imagine if he was there.
So I know. I can't. It hurts too much, actually.
I know.
I don't know if they performed it on their comeback show.
Yes.
And it was so good. It was so good. Just great to see him performing again with them. And again, just a great fresh start. I think, again, God's Menu was the restart button, and Thunderous and No Easy we're still on the same track. Are they going to go, I'm curious to see what's next. Are they going to go left or right? Are they going to take the road not taken? We'll see.
Mm-hmm. What do you want? Left or right?
I would like something unexpected.
Yeah.
Like, I like this banger clanger era of Stray Kids, and I think no matter what, they're always going to make bangers. Like, this is their sound. And when they release their next album and their album after that and their album after that, there will still be bangers. But I wouldn't mind if they kind of surprised us, if they did something a little...
Red lights
or something or something like The View as a title track. You know, we haven't talked about The View, but I think The View is just like a really really pretty, very like, it's like blueprint, an elevated blueprint almost, and it's a very pretty pop song, has a great message, has a great, very like, again, that synthy sound. It's still a banger, but it's a little bit of a softer banger.
Yeah.
Or even like, I would like to see them do like another Tortoise in the Hair moment.
Oh God.
Like,
such a good song.
Change it up. And I know that they're capable of so much. So I'm never worried about Stray Kids.
Never.
Like I never get worried for a comeback or an album. I'm never like anxious about it. I'm always expecting something that I'll like. Which I think is like a positive attitude to go into anything.
Yeah.
You know, but with Stray Kids, I never really feel disappointed with what they make. And to know that they're the ones making it, you know, to me, if you sit there and you tell me, like, this is the sound that I want and the sound that best represents me, who am I to say no? Like, who am I to say, like, well, no, like, I don't like how you see yourself. Yeah. So, again, they can keep making bangers. That's great. They can change it up. That would be great. They really, for me, can do anything at this point. They're powerful.
Yeah. No, I agree. And you know what? I was nervous coming into this because they haven't missed for me. And I was like, ugh, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen where I don't like it and I have to be a little critical. That's my mistake. Like I trust them. I trust Three Racha. I agree. They can go any direction they want. And I'm gonna appreciate the work that they've put in and who they are. But selfishly, I just want that red lights. And let's drop the music video. Let's drop the music video, please. I need this in my life.
I'm not ready for the red lights music video.
No. Because that is something that we haven't talked about, is that, you know, at this point, Stray Kids they're not kids. They are
exactly.
They're all men.
They're grown.
The youngest is what age now?
20. He's an adult.
20.
Yeah, he's 20. So now they are all adults.
Yeah.
So they can start doing these more sexy, more
well, like, they like to joke.
Concepts.
I mean, IN likes to joke all the time that he's quote unquote not ready. He's
yeah.
ready.
He's always like,
but yet his favorite song on the album is Red Lights. So I'm like, clearly you're like, telling us something. But yeah, I mean, I also don't want to make it sound like this is like that I'm obsessed with every single song on the album. Like, to me, that there are songs that I probably won't listen to very frequently. You know, Surfin' is one of them. I think Surfin' is such a cute track. But Surfin',
it's out for my heart.
I know, but Surfin' to me is like an amazing hook. Like that hook, it's like, it is a TikTok song. And I think that's amazing. And I want it to blow up on TikTok. I want it to go viral. I want it to get like millions and billions of views on TikTok because that hook is so powerful. Yeah. But like the verses, like when I was reading through the lyrics, they are really hilarious because they're just so silly. And I can take silly and corniness to an extent. And at some point I draw the line. At some point I'm like, no, I can't take this anymore. So I think Surfin' is an incredible hook and the verses are so-so. That's just my opinion. And like, I think everybody should be free to express their opinions if it's your favorite group or not. Like,
yes.
I take everyone's opinions at face value. But yeah, I would say like, there are just certain songs that didn't hit as hard for me emotionally or, you know, impactfully. But as a whole, I think the album is just so stellar.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shout out to listener Katie, who shared earlier that surfing is a bop, wave emoji, surfing emoji. So
it is a bop. I will tell you.
It's so refreshing.
The hook is great, but like, guys, be honest. The only thing you remember is the hook. The only thing.
True. I hear you.
Because you're just like, it's so great.
Yeah,
but
I get
honestly,
that.
I don't know how the verses go, and I've listened to it so many times. It just doesn't stick in my head. It's fine. It's fine.
But I kind of like how they include a song like that because it's like that refreshing.
Yeah.
Let me hold up, catch my breath real quick.
It's a palate cleanser.
Yeah, and it's just like, I think that's what I'm not necessarily hoping like will be the next one, but it's just like if depending on which direction, it's just like I kind of wish that they're gonna go in a direction where it's just gonna let's tone down the hype just a little bit, not take it away fully, but like hold on, let's take a deep breath again and then go back into this energy, you know. And I feel like that's what I'm looking forward to. Hopefully, like the next one will just be something a little softer.
Maybe you're sitting on chairs, not dancing.
Oh my goodness. I don't know.
I do wonder if we're ever going to get like another awkward silence type song, another kind of cute song. I mean, again, the thing I love about K-pop, the thing I love about boy groups of this generation is, again, there's a real spectrum. And I don't think any group is opposed to releasing really dark or sexy or strong concepts. And then there's also like really light and fun and maybe a little bit more youthful, maybe a little bit more playful songs. I'd be curious to see if we get like maybe like you were saying, like a surfin', like an OT version of that kind of song, and what they could do with it as a group project. You know, I think that they could really elevate it and build off of that incredible hook, and we would really get a song that would be just a summer anthem. Like, again, I wish that they would have almost released the album earlier in the summer, because I think Surfin' could have had that potential to really blow up and become like a summer viral hit. But yeah, I mean, again, but that's the point of the unit songs. The point of the unit songs is to try new things, and it's going to work for some people and it's not going to work for others, and that's fine.
Yeah. Well, and I think it would be a challenge for Stray Kids, because what they have that a lot of other groups, in my opinion, don't have, it's very intense. Everything, there's an intensity and a vulnerability and an immediacy, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
so like a chill, like cool summer bop that a lot of groups put out, if Stray Kids did that, I feel like there could be a missed opportunity, because they do something that a lot of these other groups would try to do, and I wouldn't buy it. Like there's groups that have had comebacks where I don't buy it, and it just feels awkward. I wonder if they went that direction, if it would feel a little awkward, because it's so kind of middle of the road emotionally. Everything with them is usually, you know, so intense. So that would be interesting to see. I'm just not sure, you know, how that would be received. Again, though, I'm going to trust them. I've learned my lesson. Trust Sriracha. They'll figure out how to do everything and make it work. But I think that's an interesting thought.
Yeah, they do. They're kind of high intensity always. Yeah. Like even though the title tracks, I think, aren't as vulnerable as some of the past title tracks. Like I don't think Thunderous has maybe the same vulnerability that, say, District 9 had, but it's the same level of intensity, and it's the same level of energy and fire. And so, yeah, I do think that they would have to fight against their own mythos in a way.
Yes,
like it
exactly.
Would be, I think that it's a challenge that they would be well equipped to take, and I would follow them on that journey and see where it leads. Yeah.
I have a feeling Chan is listening and taking notes somewhere in the distance. Like he's like, my ears are ringing.
He sees everything. He sees everything.
Exactly. He's
I will
like,
say that, like,
this is what they're saying?
I think there is vulnerability in these aggressive songs they're putting out. I think it is vulnerable to not be apologetic for who you are in the way that they do it. A lot of their stuff with these songs reminds me of hip hop battles, of rap battles. The humor aspect and the aggressive, you called me this, let's go. They're owning who they are. And that in and of itself is really vulnerable, because it's not a surface level, like, I'm cool, I'm the man. They really call everything out in a way that I think is strikingly confident for young guys. Like, if they were 35, okay. 20 years old, 22 years old. Right. I think the vulnerability can exist at different levels. And even in these songs, I feel it from them.
Yeah, it demonstrates some sense of maturity, for sure.
Yes.
Yeah, sense of maturity. Yeah, I think, like, again, Sriracha getting their start as rappers and, you know, shooting their shot in the underground rap scene, I think probably gives them that confidence and that bravado from the start, from the jump. And again, I think that the maturity aspect, watching them really find themselves, watching them become confident, watching them stop asking questions and start really living is something that everybody can learn from. Yeah. I think it's a really just powerful, potent sentiment to put out in the world.
Yeah.
But I like when they're a little cheeky and a little like, that's my favorite kind of Stray Kids. We haven't talked about Sick, but that's like one of my favorite songs.
Another one.
And yeah, I just think Hyunjin's vocal fry is so amazing. Yes. That's going to be when I finally get a Stan account, it's going to be at Hyunjin's vocal fry.
I'm checking if that's already taken.
I'm sure it is.
I'll change the
Do it now.
Yes,
do this
at the end.
Do it now and then just leave it.
There's a lyric from Han in that song. And it's like one of my favorite lyrics on the album. I wouldn't say it is vulnerable at all, but it's just like I think it's the statement of the album. And it's so along with my modesty, I'll put it inside my pocket. And again, I think that's such a bold statement to make. They are young, they are hungry, they are ready to take on more, and they're ready to do more. They're ready to challenge themselves. And again, just as a fan of music, as a fan of this group, I'm more than happy to go along with them on this journey wherever it may take us. Hopefully, I hope that we get just more in general. I want to see more songs from everybody. I want to see more Skids records, have them release kind of the music that they want to be releasing. I think it's a great opportunity for them as a group to really experiment and try new things. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I love that Hyunjin likes writing his little ballads or his like sexy R&B songs. And then you have Jisung with his really emotional melodic trap music. And then you have Changbin, who also comes through with these really just like descriptive, beautiful, heart-wrenching kind of songs. You have Mino coming through with like a dirty bop, aka Drive, which is another. So it's like I like that they get to express themselves in so many different ways, and that's the real beauty of Stray Kids. And again, it's hard for me to be critical of people who are really just expressing themselves and being unabashedly confident while doing so.
Yes, it's authentic and it comes through. I love Stray Kids. I also, sorry to cut you off. I also really like on this album that you're hearing them do different parts. They're breaking the line, the vocal line, the rap line. Lino goes off in Thunderous, and it's amazing. I was like, wait, who's rapping right there? Oh, it's Lino. Hyunjin is getting to sing more, and he can sing. It's so nice to hear those vocals. Obviously, you've got triple threats with Chan and Han. They do it all. They're amazing. But I like that they're letting all the members kind of find their groove and do different things. And I'm sure we'll see more of that.
Yeah. The line distribution on the title track was really good.
Amazing.
It was almost even. It was almost even, which is not easy to do, I think, with a K-pop track.
Yeah.
So,
but I do think every member had their own moment.
I don't know how you're feeling, Michaela. We're a little over time. We can clearly talk forever about Stray Kids. We could start a Stray Kids podcast if we wanted to. At the risk of Michaela maybe throwing something at me. Yeah, right. Well, that's why I brought you guys onto this episode. Yeah, just show up and we'll do Stray Kids Part 2. A question that's been burning on me, but maybe you guys know the answer to it. What's with the resolution that they've been using for their past few music videos? It's always a much wider frame. I especially noticed this as a video DJ, like, because I'd be DJing, and I was like, I got to change the resolution for a Stray Kids song.
I have no idea. No.
Me either.
It's at the discretion of the director, it's the same director from some of their past title tracks. So I think we've talked a lot about how they've found a signature sound. They've also found a signature aesthetic. Yes. And they've found, if you watch their visuals, again, God's Menu was just a complete restart. for them visually, maybe sonically, but especially when it comes to their aesthetics, their visuals, the idea that they are doing kind of like a different frame rate. It's making things a little bit more cinematic, which I like seeing. So yeah, I do think like the Stray Kids are really becoming almost like, so it's like the experience is so integrated from visuals to choreography to music. And I think a lot of that has to do with how much say they have in these ideas and these concepts. I mean, a beautiful thing to watch during Kingdom was to see like them really collaborate with Division One and seeing how much leeway Division One really gave them in being the archetypes of their sound and their stages and their concepts. And I think that is all the kind of the excellence that we're seeing at this point in their career is really just the product of being so cohesive in their messaging, in their aesthetics, and that collaboration between them and their team. It really does seem, even at JYP Asian Soul, Mr. JYP himself, posting on his Instagram, like, these kids are the real deal. Like, they really do it all. Like, we don't have to worry about them. They have an idea and they go for it. Like, we offer ideas, but they've already got it. So I don't know the exact reason. I don't think that I would love to see an interview with that director. They've been using a few directors really exclusively recently. And I would love to see an interview with that director because I would be curious to know like the visual, kind of the visual elements and what the symbolism is behind it, other than it being like really cool to look at.
I'm just willing to bet that it's like, well, this knob only goes to 10, but when we really want to take it, give it just a little bit of that something more, we turn it to 11.
It's 11.
Yeah.
And it's going to be the same thing because, with Stray Kids, we're always, at the top, we're always peak intensity loudest. And when we were looking for that little bit extra more, we just increase the resolution. So
yeah, we always do the unexpected.
I'm going to add I want to plant a little seed because, when it comes to the production of Stray Kids music videos, especially with the last couple of ones, I wouldn't be surprised. If anything, I'm going to cash in more if we got TR level, like, lengthy music videos in the future where you can see the whole story and concept behind it. And I'm just like, they're just waiting for it. It's just like, it's going to happen one day where we're just going to see this whole cinematic universe come to life in that sense. And it's just like, ready, take my money.
Is Ryan Reynolds going to produce that one?
Exactly.
Yeah,
he is.
Why not?
I'll just be really honest. And while I think concepts are cool, I like the Stray Kids concept. I don't need it to really like be a thing, I don't need it to. It's not why I enjoy. It's not why I enjoy their music. It's not why I enjoy anybody's music, especially with Stray Kids, because I really did try to understand it with like the 2 moons and all of that, and how all of like, especially in the Clay series, but then it ended and now we're at a there's just like a lot of layers. I feel like we're telling multiple stories. I don't know if any of them are connected, but I'm really happy that Bangchan is having fun.
Yes.
I'm like very happy. Like, have your fun, produce your bops.
Yes.
Give me the Cliff Notes version when it's over.
Well, Emily, you hit on it earlier. There's a certain intensity and an immediacy that's in the zeitgeist of Stray Kids. I think we'll see that, hear that, feel it in whatever shape that takes place from here. So. Really, we gotta cut this episode off, guys. We can talk about more. We gotta talk about Stray Kids maybe more on a future episode, but this is it for this episode. So signing off, let our listeners know where they can find you each online and all places, and promote your book or that thing that you're doing. So Crystal, you're first on the list. So go ahead.
Hi, you can find me at Crystal Bell on Twitter. Come to me with memes, hot takes. I regularly post all of my work there. So I write for Teen Vogue, Paper Magazine. This week I'm rolling out a big project with the Boys of Tomorrow by Together, which has been really fun. I'll have a Stray Kids review in Teen Vogue shortly. Yay. So you will hear all of these thoughts again, but in print form. You can read. So that'll be fun. But yeah, so just at Crystal Bell on Twitter. Send me lots of Stray Kids gifts. Thank you.
And Jay?
So, okay, it's a little bit complicated. So, anyways, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram, simply JOfficial. The J is just different on IG, where you spell it out. Or you can find me on Twitch as Boss Lady JX, where I try to do unboxings and first listens. But you can also find me on the podcast. I am the co-host for the Krazecast, as well as I'm a writer for the magazine as well. Fun episode, actually. It's going to be out by the time this is out. The next episode that we did was actually on Stray Kids, so you might want. I talk about more of God's Menu there, and yeah, just find me there. I'm usually screaming about something on social media, specifically Twitter. But yeah, you can talk to me there, find me there, and also shout out to K-pop chat. Get in there when I can. So yeah, so you can also find me hanging around. If I'm not participating, I'm always hanging around in the audience and listening in. So yeah, thank you for having me, and it's a pleasure to be working with everyone again.
On Twitter Spaces, K-pop chat, Monday, 5:15 or 5:15 Pacific time, 8:15 Eastern. Sorry,
8:15 for us.
8:15, yes, 8:15 Eastern. Yeah, and Emily.
You can find me on Twitter, Emily KMM. I also do a weekly podcast, K-pop podcast, called the New York City Kpop Queens. Episode 66 comes out tomorrow, and we review Stray Kids. So if you really want to hear a total breakdown of the album with me and my co-host, please give us a listen. NYC Kpop Queens on Twitter and Instagram, all one word. This was a pleasure. I love talking about K-pop, but Stray Kids are my heart. Thank you so much for including me, and huge shout out to all of you, Jay and Crystal. You guys are the best. This was really, really fun. So thank you.
Yeah, so fun.
So much fun.
Yeah. When is this coming out?
It depends how quickly I edit. Is the question. So we'll see what that looks like. And Michaela?
And if you're not turned off by my Stray Kids hot takes, you can follow me on Twitter at Michaela J. K-pop.
Yeah, no, I think we try to pride our beautiful, intelligent, gifted listeners who exemplify critical thinking. And know that
we love critical thinking.
You can like a group and have constructive, nuanced things to say at the same time. And
crazy.
And it's so important, honestly, though, Michaela, like, especially for a group like Stray Kids, I really want Sriracha, I really want Bangchan to like hear different perspectives on their music. And I think it's the only way that creatives grow and producers grow. Yeah. And it really, it irritates me sometimes when I think fandom is just a giant echo chamber. And sometimes I just want these artists to hear critical thoughts about not critical as in bad, but just like critical thinking about their album and about their work, because they deserve it. They deserve to hear somebody really break down, what really works, what maybe doesn't work, and I think it's so important. So again, your opinion is so valuable.
Yeah. Because the echo chamber is a disservice at the end.
Exactly.
100%.
Exactly.
100%.
It's such a disservice for any artist, for any creative, especially an artist who is actively like contributing to their music, making their own music. It's a real disservice, and I wish it wasn't so much a thing. I think artists really love to hear, thoughts and unfiltered thoughts, and so but it's been such a pleasure. I love talking about Stray Kids. I love talking about music. I love talking about K-pop. So you guys have been awesome.
All right. And, Mikhail, where can people find you? Oh, you're shared. Yeah. And I'm at DJ Peter Lowe. My plug for my thing, I'm DJing at Joy Rocco's Club for this weekend, or coming weekend. I'll be sharing the stage with Everglow. ONF,
Wow.
Card, Ace, Yubin, MCND, PH1, Sani, we'll pretend that didn't happen, Donkigs, Alexa, and many more.
Wow.
By the way,
Check it out.
Everglow.
It's awesome.
Everglow is a group who I think who have done Banger Clanger well.
Yep.
Yeah,
For
In
sure.
a way that re-events each time. So
Yep.
yeah, not that I'm looking to compare directly, but I think that's a good example. And
Yeah.
if
100%.
go ahead. You're gonna read the next line, Michaela.
Yeah, and lastly, you can follow all of us at the K-pop Cast on Twitter. But if you want to get to know us better, or make new friends, or continue this amazing conversation about Stray Kids, you can continue that in our official K-pop Cast Slack channel. The link will be in the description of this episode.
That's fun.
Yeah, waste your time there. During the workday.
Don't tempt me. Don't tempt me. I already spend too much time on Reddit. I can't.
Yeah.
Oh.
I can't.
It's a definite switch up. It's not Discord.
Yeah, I think because we got more grown-up listeners. Sorry, not to knock Discord participants, but
It's okay.
okay. Well, anyway, we've got that. We also got a newsletter, so you can sign up for that. Link for that will be in the description of this episode, and we'll catch you guys all next time. I think we'll talk about Stray Kids, I'm sure, again at some point in the future, so we'll bring you all back for that. But as always, if there's anything you want to pitch yourselves or invite yourselves onto the show for, we're always welcome and receptive to that. So
Thank you.
thank you for your time,
Awesome.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. This has been so fun.
All right.
Bye.
So much fun.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.